1 minute and 16 seconds before somebody popped in. It's too early. It's too early this morning. Hello, welcome in. I got an interesting story to tell. Good morning, good morning. It's early. Annika decided wake-up call was 5 a.m. this morning. I wonder if she's ready for a nap now. Too early. Yeah. She usually wakes up at 6:30, takes a nap around 8:30. But 5 a.m., she was on it this morning. I did some yard work yesterday, and Shorty Thurman came by. He's been by before. We've met before. So if you know, you know. If you don't, the graveyard in the front of my house is a family graveyard for the Thurmans and the Halls. I live on a road called Hell Bend, in an area called Hell Bend, Virginia, Campbell County, Virginia. I believe it's the Roanoke River. Anyway, there's a river nearby, and I guess it had a big bend in it. And so it was difficult for the boats and the railroad. But anyway, there was a gang, I guess, and I've been told about the gang. Shorty Thurman stopped by. Yes, Shorty Thurman stopped by yesterday, and he brought me some transcripts. And I haven't read them yet, and so I thought we might read them together. See how interesting it is. Annika already got them wet. Because I guess there were some very interesting characters. Hold on, I gotta reset the washer. Yeah, Shorty's always been cool with me. He's an interesting character. I think he's one of the time travelers. But he did come by and shoot a shot with me one day. And I told my son, I said, well, he was smart. He pulled up on a Harley. But yeah, no. Not interested, but he's been very kind and respectful to me. So, if we're ready, the county seat is Rustburg, Virginia. So that's where the courthouse and everything is for Campbell County. And this paper is comes from the Lynchburg News. And it says, Thursday morning, July 11th, 1912. Rustburg, Virginia. Oh, I didn't put my mic in. Can y'all hear okay? I think y'all can usually hear me fine. It's, I talk loud enough. And I was thinking I might go out tonight. But with Annika waking me up at 5 a.m., I don't know. All right. Lynchburg News, Thursday morning, July 11th, 1912. Rustburg, Virginia, July 10th, 1912. The Commonwealth rested its case against Leewood and Tommy Thurman. I've heard those names before. On trial for the murder of D.S. Scruggs, March 23rd in the Hell Bend neighborhood of this county at 10:15 o'clock this morning. And Commonwealth's attorney Light, it's his last name Light, G-H-T, addressed the jury from 6 o'clock until almost 7 o'clock this evening. Oh, so for an hour, at which time court adjourned until 8:30 o'clock tomorrow morning, when Duncan Drysdale and W.M. Morrell, all these people are dead, so I'm not I'm not doxing anybody's name. Okay, Duncan Drysdale and W.M. Morrell, attorneys for the defense. Okay, so Leewood and Tommy Thurman are accused of killing a man named Scruggs. And their Drysdale and Merle will argue for the youthful defendants. So apparently the death penalty was on the table and they were just young men, young kids. That sucks. See, look, there she goes, taking a nap. I'm hoping I get a nap in so I can go out later because there's a band at the restaurant tonight, I think. I thought that would be fun. Okay, where are we? So these two young men are accused of murder. Um, Attorney Aubrey E. Strode will conclude the argument for the Commonwealth, and the case is likely to go to the jury by noon tomorrow. So they're doing all the pre-motion stuff. Interest in the case is still very acute here. Acute? It's an interesting word there. Interest in the case is still very acute here, and the process of building up the strong chain of circumstantial evidence, oh my gosh, chain of circumstantial evidence, not proof, but whatever, has been watched and growing interest since the trial was commenced Tuesday morning. The Commonwealth greatly strengthened its case today through a number of their own and several of the defendants' witnesses through the questioning of attorneys Strode and Light. The alibi, which the defense had promised to settle the result of the trial, failed to materialize. So the defense said they had an alibi, and they never could name the alibi, it looks like, as they were unable to account for the time of the boys from 1 o'clock until 2 o'clock on the fateful Saturday. The alibi was sworn to by brothers and sisters of the defendants. Probably no witnesses have damaged the two youths, as has the evidence of Bob Allen and Jim Bayless. Both of ominous and weighty by the prosecution from the stress laid on it by Attorney Light in his argument before the jury later. Allen's testimony was regarding, there's a lot of weird spelling in this article. It's regarding is Reguarding, regarding alleged statements made by Mrs. Thurman, Mr. Thurman, and Leewood Thurman. Okay, so Mr. and Mrs. must be Leewood's mom and dad. On the Sunday afternoon following the finding of the bullet-pierced body of Scruggs in the road near the barn of Morgan Irby. So they find a body on the road beside somebody's barn. Allen, okay, whose body? Allen is an intimate friend of the Thurmans. He testified that when the He testified that when the Thurmans, that is, the three above mentioned, learned of the findings of the body, they decided to go to the scene of the tragedy, all except Leewood, who never did go near the corpse of the slain Scruggs, Mrs. Scruggs is alleged to have said, afraid he would blab. Oh, He said he was afraid he would, quote, blab, unquote. Don't go down there with any whiskey in you, or you are likely to blab and say things you should not say. So they're telling people not to go to the investigation. This is very boring, I see. Allen also testified that when it became apparent that old man Thurman was going to the scene of the murder where a large crowd had already gathered, Leawood said, let's don't let, okay, this is in quotes again. Leawood said, let's don't let the old man go down there. He has no business down there and is likely to say things he has no business saying. Dang. Coming as it did from a friend, it was declared by Attorney Light to be little short of a confession of guilt on the part of Leawood. It is towards him that the Commonwealth is bending all its efforts to show that he fired the fatal shots which killed Udy Scruggs. So his nickname is Udy, Udy, Udy Scruggs. He went by it was D.S. Scruggs that got murdered. So Udy got shot. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go back a little bit. As it did from a friend, it was, which is a prosecutor, to be little short of a confession of guilt on the part of Leawood. So he says Leawood kind of confessed. It is towards him that the Commonwealth is bending all its efforts to show that he fired the fatal shots which killed Udy. So the state has to prove that Leawood shot Udy. The testimony of Bayless was equally as deadly. He it was who took dinner with the Thurmans on the day Scruggs was killed. He stated that Scruggs was there that day and took dinner, playing cards and having a general good time. I wonder if they were drinking. What years were Prohibition? That was in the 20s, right? So 1912 would have been before Prohibition. So they're just having dinner, playing cards, having a good time. Shortly after dinner, Scruggs stated that he was going to Irby's to buy corn to make whiskey with. There we go. We're making moonshine. I knew that was coming. All right. I got to reset the washer again. I got to get a new washer and dryer. This is really crazy because my washer fills up with water, and when I went to Florida, I turned the water off to the washer so that it couldn't fill up with water, and when I got home, it still had water in it. So I don't know where the water came from. Okay, but we're talking about the trial of Leawood and Tommy Thurman. And a guy named Scruggs was killed. Udy, right? Udy Scruggs. Okay, so that day, they seemed to all be at the Thurman's house having dinner, playing cards, having a good time. Then Scruggs said that he's going to Irby's to buy corn to make whiskey. Let's see, Morgan Irby. That's where the body was found on the road by the barn in by Irby's barn. Okay. So we're going to Irby's to buy corn to make whiskey. He left the Thurman home in company with two defendants and did not have any overcoat on. So we've got Scruggs, Leawood, and Tommy Thurman going to Irby's to buy corn. So he has an overcoat on, which the Thurmans had stated they let him have to wear to the neighbors, according to the witness. This was considered a very strong one. I refuted the explanation of why a Thurman overcoat was found at the place where the body of the Scruggs was discovered. There were a few other minor points which clearly established several minor facts. Did, what did that sentence, was that sentence useful at all? Bayless, though an ignorant man, proved to be one of the best witnesses in the case, answering in his own way the questions that were asked him and clear meaning, which made a good impression on those who heard. He could not be caught. I'm not sure what that means. I don't intend to mix my testifications. It really says that, guys. Testifications, he said several times. I don't intend to mix my testifications, he said. He didn't. When asked where he lived, he replied, in the suburbs of Hell Bend. So acute was he in his efforts to tell the truth that when asked if he were invited to take dinner and if he liked the meal, he stated that he wasn't asked, he didn't believe, but he stayed anyway. What? He wasn't asked to dinner, he just stayed? Um, he said that the only fault he found with the meal was that there was a mite too little salt in the creases. The Commonwealth fixed the death of Scruggs at 1 o'clock or a little later by the evidence of Bryant Harris, Mrs. Irby, and Walter Gilbert. Colored. Walter Gilbert colored. Oh, we have to point out that Walter is colored, but we don't point out everything else, everybody else's heritage. Anyway, who had several pistol shots in the direction of, who heard several pistol shots in the direction of the barn at about that time, or according to the time set for leaving the house by Bayless and members of the Thurman family of Scruggs, just about for which the victim have walked from the Thurman home to the barn where he was slain. So I guess we're trying to create a timeline here from when they left the house together, the Thurman brothers and Udi. And they say he died at just the right time when they would have been there, I guess. Only a few hundred yards further down the road he was on, near the home of Morgan Irby, where he was to purchase the corn, and which place he never reached. So he never did get to the place for the corn, but his body was right there. Here is some more of the article. The first witness for the defense was J.L. Thurman, father of the two defendants. Okay, so J.L. Thurman is the patriarch here. I'll be right back. Again. That noise is just so annoying. Heat up my coffee a little bit here. Okay, the first witness for the defense was J.L. Thurman, father of the two defendants. His testimony appeared to weaken the cause of his sons by its inconsistency and the thorough grilling brought out by attorney Strode. So again, Strode and Light are the prosecutors, right? He was on the stand from 10:15 until the court adjourned at 1 o'clock for the noon recess. So he had quite a long session on the stand. Being on the stand for over 3 hours, Thurman was caught in a number of errors. One being that regarding the flask of whiskey which was found at the barn with Scruggs, I knew alcohol had to be involved. I just knew it. This bottle was said by Bayless to have been first opened before dinner at the Thurman home, and they all took a drink. And then there's I think this might be a redaction. Is this how, let me see. There's a redaction there. Um had previously said that he loaned the pint of whiskey to Scruggs. How are you going to loan somebody whiskey? But on the stand today, he didn't know where there was a drop of whiskey in the house until Scruggs pulled it out and asked the crowd to take a drink. Okay, so first Thurman said it was his whiskey, and now they're saying it was Scruggs's whiskey. He stated that he had forgotten giving the whiskey to Scruggs, though it was given only a few minutes before. He also had stated that he put the overcoat on Scruggs in the house before Bayless, but as has been said, Bayless testified that Scruggs left the overcoat on. Okay, so old man Thurman is claiming that he put the coat on the deceased at the house, but a witness testified that Scruggs left the house without a coat. And we know this is a Thurman coat, I guess. It's well known, apparently. Let's see. When confronted with this, old man Thurman stated that he put the overcoat on Scruggs out on the porch. These and other statements were the same Scruggs on the day his lifeless body was found. Thurman was explaining the presence of his overcoat and making out an alibi before his two sons were even accused of having slain Scruggs. So yeah, all the people came, all the people are milling about, and they're listening to comments everybody's making. This evidence under the cross-examination was very damaging and was made much capital of by Attorney Light in his speech before the jury. The defense then put on about a dozen other witnesses showing that Leawood Thurman and Scruggs had made up their differences regarding the beer cutting, in quotes, beer cutting. Now, along as friends. So they're trying to put on witnesses saying that the Thurman boy and the Scruggs boy were friends. Um, the beer cutting, I don't know what that means. Beer cutting? Anybody know? It was even shown by three different witnesses that Leawood and Scruggs had been working together on several different occasions at the still of Scruggs. They have a still. Of course they do. Making blank blank together in blank blank wood. Had become quite an out the white fluid under Scruggs' masterful directions. Okay, so young Leawood, is learning to make moonshine, tutored by Scruggs. And they seem to be getting along just fine. It seemed. Okay, Frank Rice. Now we got someone else on the stand. Frank Rice was on the stand, and he told of a visit to Scruggs' still and of watching he and Leawood making whiskey. You saw them making whiskey? Asked Attorney Strode, and never went and reported the matter to the revenue officers? So I guess it was prohibition. Uh-oh. You not a snitch? What? Said the witness. And he was thunderstruck at the idea of such an action. Like, what? Thunderstruck by at the idea of such an action as that would have been on his part. They could get no more satisfaction out of the witness and was dismissed from the stand. The defense also showed by the brothers and sisters and the parents of the two boys and arrived at the home of another somewhere between 1 and 2 o'clock on the day of the killing. Only one witness, Wiley Miles, was placed on the stand by the Commonwealth in rebuttal. He was working on a road which the boys claimed to have traveled to the home of the other brother. He was on the road from 11 o'clock until 2 o'clock on the day of the tragedy, and that the boys never. Oh, so they're trying to establish their alibi. They went, and this guy working on the road said they did not. He didn't see them. Let's see, Miles stated that he was on the road from 11 to 2 on the day of the tragedy, and the boys never passed that way. He mentioned putting a scoop up on the bank when he stopped. Huh, I don't know. The defense then called Buddy Scruggs, who was with Ulam Thurman on that day and was walking just ahead of Leewood and Tommy, according to their testimony, and he remembered seeing the scoop, but not seeing Miles. I don't know what the scoop is. I guess I have to look that up. The Commonwealth showed by this that it must have therefore been later than 2 o'clock when the boys passed that way. Scruggs is a nephew of the two defendants on his maternal side and a nephew of the slain man on his paternal side. All a great big clan out here. Great big mixed up clan. So Scruggs is the nephew, the brother, the victim having married a sister of Leewood and Tommy Thurman. Oh, they supposedly killed their brother-in-law, but who is now dead. Oh my goodness. Why did they kill their brother-in-law? Now it's getting intriguing. Okay, we're talking about the victim having married okay, but who is now dead. The defense then submitted 6 instructions to the court for the benefit of the jury, 4 of which were read to the 12 men. The attorney requested that court adjourn, but he held on for another hour and told them to continue the case. So the attorneys are trying to go home. Judge said no. My friend in Jacksonville told me sometimes they're in court till 10:30 at night. If the jury wants to keep going, I guess they often keep going. Attorney Light then opened for Commonwealth and announced that it shot Scruggs in the back. Did I lose signal? Have I been buffering? For how long? What story did you miss? Anyway, the Commonwealth attorney is calling the defendants assassins. That's not nice. In that they had shot Scruggs in the back. But that's not nice either. He used this point to show conclusively that murder had been committed and that there was no possible chance for a suicide. Who was claiming it was suicide? You can't suicide yourself in the back. Uh-oh, I might get flagged for saying that word. He laid much stress on the alleged threats of Leewood Thurman to kill Scruggs and stated that he had kept those promises. So Leewood, I guess, had been threatening to kill Scruggs. He summed up carefully in a telling manner the chain of circumstantial evidence and alluded to Scruggs as the cock of Hellbend. Scruggs was the cock of the walk, huh? Saying that was why he was shot in the back, for the reason that none in the locality dared to face him openly. So this was a scary character, it seems like, Scruggs, the cock of Hellbend. He attempted to show how the three, Scruggs, Leewood, and Tommy, had left the Thurman home, gone to the barn, got to drinking, and playing. So they were in someone else's barn drinking and playing cards. Oh no, the Thurman barn. Got to drinking and card playing and said how it was probable that one of the boys took Scruggs' pistol unawares and shot him in the back and then again in the side as he ran away wounded to death. The manner in which the cards were strewn from the box around the corner of the barn, he said, showed how the hurt man had run to escape the leaden bullets of death. Then he maintained that the track at the dead man's side demonstrated how the assassin placed the man's own gun back into his pocket. Oh, so they shot him with his own gun, they're claiming? He stated that in no other manner could the two exploded shells in the pistol be accounted for. He spoke 40 minutes, and his speech was considered a strong recapitulation of the evidence for the opening speech of a murder tryst. Court will reconvene at 8:30 in the morning, and a decision is looked for sometime tomorrow afternoon, after attorneys Drysdale, Merle, and Strode have concluded. It is to 40 minutes each, but this has not been decided tonight. Okay. We got a couple more pages because we got another day of trial. I guess these are the notes from the reporter. Wonder if B. Thurman was a minor. I almost need to make some more coffee already. 5 a.m. is so early for me. Brat. Bratty Brat woke me up. Okay, here we go again. Where was... Oh, the news. Lynchburg, VA. Friday morning, July 12th, 1912. Rustburg, July 11th, 1912. Well, I don't know why it says 11th when it's the 12th. After being out on the case for 3 hours... Okay, so now the jury has been put discuss. After being out on the case for 3 hours and announcing that there was absolutely no chance of agreeing, the jury in the Thurman case was this afternoon at 4:30 o'clock dismissed for the term by Judge W.R. Barksdale, who presided during the trial. It was later learned that the jury stood 7. It was later learned that the jury stood 7 for second-degree murder and would give 10 years to both defendants. So 7 of them with 10 years. 10 years for murder? Huh, it's not much. 2 for acquittal and 3 for murder in the first degree. Dang, y'all, how long am I buffering? I didn't even know I was buffering. Is my Wi-Fi not working? Am I buffering the whole time? Well, it came back that the jury couldn't reach an agreement. The jury could not compromise in any way, and they so announced to the court, who discharged them with his regrets at their not being able to agree. So the judge kind of admonished them and said he regrets that they couldn't come to a conclusion. The case has been marked with interest throughout. The neighbors of the Thurmans and Scruggs have come here the first day and have remained since, very few having gone home. So everybody traveled to the court for the hearing. Last night, the courthouse was filled with them, having been run from the courthouse lawn where they spent the first night by a heavy rain. Spent the night in the courthouse lawn and then inside the courthouse next night. Speculation as to the outcome has been rife, though it was the general opinion that Leawood Thurman would be convicted and that Tommy stood a good chance of dismissal. The Commonwealth has bent all its efforts towards Leawood. I wonder why they think Leawood is more responsible than Tommy. That's got to be something that's in the rumor mill or something. Okay, a page and a half is all we got left. So they're focusing on Leawood, believing him to be the one who fired the fatal shots on account of the nature of the wounds, they being directly in the back, or rather one of them. So was there 1 bullet in the back or 3 bullets in the back? Wait, I don't understand. Anyways, and the blank arranged in the barn apparently showed that, I wonder why that's blank. And the blank arranged in the barn apparently showed that Leawood had sat directly behind Scruggs from the prints of the shoe nails. If it was not Leawood, it was neither of the others, for the reason that the tracks resembled only Leawood's shoes, the special marks being from a patch on the shoe and the heavy hobnails. Dang, fancy forensics. They're looking at shoes. Where's everybody going? Where is everybody? Nobody even said good morning to me. Good morning, everybody. Say good morning to me. So they're trying to go say it's Leawood because of where his shoe print was. The session of court was resumed this morning at 8:30 o'clock when Duncan Drysdale addressed the jury for an hour in defense of the 2 boys. So I guess we got closing arguments here. When he concluded, attorney W.M. Morrell addressed the jury and the case for the Commonwealth, addressed the jury and the case, commas would be helpful here, guys. Punctuation would be helpful. Was concluded by attorney Aubrey Strode. Attorney Drysdale went over in detail the bits of testimony which were inimical to his clients. Another new word. I guess I'm going to learn new words today. And made a careful explanation of each. In an effort of testimony might be construed in a different light from that given by the Commonwealth's attorney. The attorney then spoke at some length on the danger of convicting a man on circumstantial evidence, stating that if a doubt that any other person could have committed the crime were excluded, the jury should find the defendants guilty, but that if it were in the least possible that some other person might have done the deed, then they would be compelled to find the clients not guilty. He made light of the evidence and circumstantial chain to connect his clients with the killing, as deduced by the Commonwealth. At the conclusion of Attorney Drysdale's argument, the court allowed the jurors for several minutes, and upon their return, Attorney Morrell began his remarks. He commented on the dead man in his efforts to run to earth the murders of his brother, but that he should exercise care in not letting his zeal carry him too far and thus place innocent people in peril. He also commented on the chain of circumstantial evidence introduced by the Commonwealth and attempted to break it down in places. He laid much stress on the cutting down of the beer. Cutting down of the beer. I guess I want to know what that means. Let's see. Dang it. Cutting down of the beer. It wants to tell me how to quit drinking. Um, Cutting of the beer. Now they're talking about cutting bottles. Oh, goodness. I'm thinking now it's talking about how to cut out beer to lose weight. Old English meaning of cutting of the beer. Cutting, okay, here we go. Cutting the beer in the context of historical English drinking refers to the act of topping a barrel, or more commonly, the process of separating, mixing, or finishing a brew, often related to small beer or later specific styles. So there's tapping the barrel. Cut beer. I'm gonna have to guess that, to me it feels like they were watering it down maybe or something. Anybody got any thoughts on that? That would be a reason to piss off some alcoholics, huh? All right. Where were we? We were on the cutting of the beer again. Mm. Hold on. Oh, I think we're getting to maybe the reason. Okay. Um, so they're talking about the T.S. Scruggs, a brother of the dead man. I'll go back to there. T.A. Scruggs, a brother of the dead man, in his efforts to run to earth the murders of his brother. So he's really trying to nail or figure out who killed his brother and nail him. He stated that it was right that he should do so, but that he should exercise care in not letting his zeal carry him far and thus place innocent people in peril. commented on the chain of circumstantial evidence which had been deduced by the Commonwealth and attempted to break it down in places. Here we go. He laid much stress on the cutting down of the beer and said it was almost a crime in itself. In the Hellbend neighborhood, to do such a thing at Christmas time and thus spoil the pleasure of the whole season. Oh my God, why would you cut the beer at Christmas time? Terrible. Taking the expression of Attorney Light regarding Udi Scruggs, the attorney this morning characterized him as king of the Hellbenders. So remember, Udi Scruggs is the man that's dead. He got shot in the back, apparently. And they're accusing the Thurman brothers. But apparently, Udi, the man who died, was known as the king of the Hellbenders. So this is the Hellbender gang. And asked if it were not reasonable, being such a bad man as was shown, that he probably had other enemies in the community than the two Thurman boys. See, that's kind of what I'm thinking, because it was hanging out with the Thurmans and ate there and everything. But he was known as a bad guy. Like they say, nobody would shoot him in the front because he was so scary. Let me say, oh, hi, America. Yeah, you can see outside. Sorry, Clips. I can show you. Good morning, American Girl. We're out a murder case from 1912 by the Hellbender gang. All right. We're outside. There's the graveyard out there of the Thurmans and the Halls. Okay. Sometimes when I come out here, you missed a lot. You might have to go back. It's a little bit hard to understand. But these are like, they call it transcripts, but I'm guessing it's the notes of Annika, say good morning. Say good morning to the people. She's been digging. She's trying to dig up me close, y'all. I keep yelling at her. Okay. Hellbend. All this is Hellbend. Okay. Where were we? Oh yeah, they cut the beer. They had the nerve to, I'm guessing, water down the beer on Christmas. Taking the expression of Attorney Light regarding Udi. Oh, that we're back to Udi was the king of Hellbenders. That's what he was called. And asked if it were not reasonable, being such a bad man, as was shown, that he probably had other enemies. Biting my hair. Quit biting my hair. Let's see. The desire of, okay. He probably had other enemies in the community because he's a bad man. The desire for, I'm supposed to say vengeance, I'm sure. The desire for vengeance for the part of the Scruggs family, Attorney Murrell stated, had caused them to bring their dead brother's name from the grave and hang his character up in court of justice to be spread broadcast throughout the land, when modesty should have been caused them to blush at such a blanktation. I'm so confused on some of the redactions. So yeah, now the Scruggs family attorney is saying, how dare you bring up the dead man's name like that? Throw dirt at this dead man. Anyway, Udi Scruggs, the victim, can blank for one of the blank, blank, blank ever heard here. Udi Scruggs, maybe these are cuss words. Udi Scruggs, the victim, can blank for one of the blank, blank, blank. I don't know. He was declared to be the man who was debauching the youths of the community. Oh, he was a bad influence on our kids, giving the boys whiskey even as he was fattening all the neighborhood hogs on the slops from his still. Okay, so he's giving all the neighbors his extra stuff to feed the pigs. Regarding the cutting down of the beer, it was you guys, this is a murder case. And the baby hi in Los Angeles. Good morning. We're in Hellbend, Virginia, about an old gang called the Hellbender Gang. And everybody's all in a fussy, all in a stir, because I think somebody watered down the beer at Christmas. Okay, regarding the cutting down of the beer, it was testified that yesterday that Dan Robertson was the one who cut it down to use the alleged words of the murdered man himself. So, Udi Scruggs says that Sam Robertson watered down the beer. Udi Scruggs is now dead. And it's not Christmas. Attorney Morrell used that point to show that or even a female member of the Robertson family might well have done the deed for being cursed regarding the cutting down of the still the beer. When I was Commonwealth's attorney of this county, said Mr. Morrell, there were a number of murders down there, talking about Hellbend. You guys, I've heard lots of rumors. This was a pretty crazy place. Like, somebody told me, you didn't come out here unless you knew somebody, especially after dark. Anyway, when I was the Commonwealth's attorney of this county, said Mr. Morrell, there were a number of murders down there, and we have never found out who did them. There were 7 unsolved murders in Hellbend during that time, said Attorney Light, interrupting him. When Attorney Morrell concluded after speaking nearly 3 hours, court again recessed, after which Attorney Aubrey Strode began his speech for the Commonwealth in the conclusion of the case. Attorney Strode addressed the jury for about an hour and a half. Dang, they got some long closing arguments going on. I don't think they're allowed that long anymore. Hour and a half in a telling manner. He began his remarks by stating that it was always unpleasant to prosecute any human being for an offense, but that it was a duty he owed his Commonwealth, as well as it would be the duty of the jury to convict to convict if the evidence was of a nature as to make it their duty to the Commonwealth to return a verdict. He then launched. That must be launched. These must be typos. He then launched upon a careful shut the fuck up. No, I'm not reading a book, 4-Yard Baby. I'm reading the Hellbender Gang. I'm reading the transcripts from the newspaper. And Dan Lee, just go somewhere else. It's fine. Okay. So they're saying another man or woman could have done it. Where was I? Anyway, saying that it's their duty to convict. He then launched upon a careful summary of the evidence in the case from the findings of Scruggs' dead body. It's what I want to know. How they how they string the evidence together. And began to weave the threads of the evidence so as to point to the Thurman boys, connecting them with the killing. He told of how the first question asked when the body was found was, "Who was last seen with the dead man?" and showed by the evidence of Jim Bayless that Leewood and Tommy were the last persons seen with Scruggs on the day he was killed, and according to the pistol shots, just a small amount of time before the deed was consummated. The next question was, who had malice against the victim? That's what I want to know. The attorney endeavored to show that Leewood Thurman had malice against him for several months, and that while evidence showed that Scruggs had forgiven him for believing that he cut down the beer, there was no evidence to show that Leewood had forgiven Scruggs for the accusation. He next went into the attempt accused and showed that it would not hold water, being at least an hour and a half of time, which was unaccounted for, even by the family of the accused boys. His account of theoretical killing of Scruggs was dramatic and detailing how they had all acted themselves in the barn for the game, how Scruggs had lain his bottle and gun aside, and got ready to play, and how his gun was slipped away and he was shot in the back and sprang from the doorway and ran wounded to death. The face of the two youthful prisoners turned deadly pale, and neither took their eyes from the attorney during the terrific arraignment of them as he turned and, pointing to them, said, "Here they sit, gentlemen of the jury," because, of course, only men were on the jury then. Took Udi Scruggs' gun away from him and assassinated him, shooting him in the back and leaving him to die in the road or already dead. And the track was there by the side of the slain man where Leewood Thurman stood over him as he replaced his pistol back into his pocket after he had killed him. So I'm going to go back in, y'all. It's cold. It's a little. Oh, it was like 80 degrees yesterday. Some yard work. I think that's why Annika got out early, because we went to bed early because we were out in the heat doing yard work and doing all kinds of stuff, and got tired. Let me see. Any chat? Welcome, whoever is. Shut the fuck up. What'd I just say? Oh, you like the view, but yes, this was a real gang. And there's some people who still talk about them. I just got Shorty. I've only hung out with him a couple times, but he's starting to open up with some stories and stuff about the Thurmans. So they're saying that they took the gun away from him, shot him with his own gun, then put it back in his pocket. And while he's saying all this, the defendants are like white as ghosts. Let's see. They left him to die in the road. The footprints were Leewood Thurman's. Mr. Strode concluded at 1:30 o'clock, and the court gave the case to the jury, who retired for dinner, and returning went into the jury room about an hour later. They returned to the courtroom several times for instructions, and at 4:30 o'clock the foreman stated that there was no hope of agreeing, and the court discharged them and held the defendants on bonds of $2,000 each for their appearance at the September term of court. So trial one, we got a stuck jury. Um, he told me he'd bring me more information if he can find it, but he said that those murders had never been solved and that there were several more out here that were never solved. And shortly after I moved here, I learned of a house down the road from me that burnt up, and the Thurman inside of the house burnt up, and they said they could hear his screams, they everything. Well, some people believe that that old man's own son lit that fire and killed him. But that's it. That's all I know for right now. Now that I have more names and more information and dates and stuff, maybe I can do some better research. So what do you think? Is that interesting or not interesting? American Girl thinks it's just interesting. Um, Whoever this Dan Lee sock account is thinks that my voice is nerve-wracking. Oh, I'm thinking about doing a couple other streams. Hi, here I am. I got this cotton nightie on. Sometimes I wear it as a dress. I like it so much. It's a little big. I found it at the thrift store. I thought it was a great find. I wear it as a blouse, under skirts. I wear it a lot. It's so silly that a simple white nightie can be so useful. So what else? Is that it? I got a couple more things I want to chat about, but I don't really want to keep them in the same stream. Thinking about doing a drunk art challenge. I think that would be fun. We can drink some wine and I can pretend to do art. Okay, well, matter of fact, I might just go out and come in. The next topic I want to tell you about is how we're going back to prison. Back to prison. That's our fate. Um, but I want it to be in a separate stream. It is what it is. My old gray hair. Where are all my early morning people? You guys aren't used to seeing me this early in the morning, huh? All right. I'm going to sign out. American Girl. Love you. Bye. Take care of yourself. Um, that's it. Peace out. Have a great day. Try.